I wanted to share with you a bit of a manuscript. I've been writing a commentary on the Siddur for at least 20 years. I started, the first part of it actually, some of you may know it came out of the festschrift for Zalman. It was either his 60th or 70th birthday, I don't remember which it was, but it's a very long time ago. 70th? And there I wrote, what was that called, that book? You remember, Eve, the title of it? No, I don't know, something worlds, imagining worlds, I'm not sure, I don't remember. But I wrote there a commentary at the beginning of the Amidah. And after that I wrote commentaries for Kol HaNeshama, for the Reconstructionist Prayer Book. And then I said I'm leaving all those behind, it's just becoming a work of my own. The book is called Sefer Be'er L'Chai Ro'i. It's an untranslatable pasuk, it's my pasuk, it's the pasuk in which my soul is rooted. I discovered one day in the course of meditation. Vayashav Yitzchak Mibo Be'er L'Chai Ro'i seems to be my pasuk. And Be'er L'Chai Ro'i, it's the well where God sees me, it's the well where I see life, where life sees me. But it's not only the well, it's the commentary, of course, it's the Be'er, it's the explanation. So it's the explanation through which I see life, or the explanation through which life looks at me. The fact that Ro'i is written Chaser, so is Rabbi Avraham Yitzchak, which is also my name, helps a little bit. But it's really that. It's really Be'er L'Chai Ro'i. It's my pasuk version of that famous saying by Meister Eckhart: "The eye with which I see God and the eye with which God sees me are the same eye." So Be'er L'Chai Ro'i, exactly. Am I the seeing or the seen in the course of that Be'er? So yes, it's a commentary on the Siddur, but it's also a kind of revelation of my own prayer life. And so I want to read a little bit of it with you. I took a weekday Ma'ariv, what I have on weekday Ma'ariv there, including the Shema. I didn't give you the Amidah because it was just too much. So I want to give you a little sample of it. Some of it we'll read, and some of it I'll talk through. And some of it you just heard from Marcia and Jack in their very beautiful way when Marcia said, "Take a deep cleansing breath," I said, "Of course, that's my paragraph on V'urachum." So let's go to it and see. V'urachum yichaper avon v'lo yashchit. He is compassionate, he covers over sin and will not destroy. We begin the weekday Arvit with these harsh-sounding words. They are here because we're turning to God after a day of living in a harsh world, one of rough thoughts, words, and actions. The energy of all that we have thought, said, and done in the course of this day are present within us as we come to pray. This is in contrast to morning prayer. We begin by saying, Elohai neshamash natata bi tehorahi. My God, the soul you placed within me is pure. In the morning we awake as innocent newborns, but by evening we come covered with the grime wrought in the day of living in the real world. V'urachum is the cleansing moment, the transforming of all those energies we brought from the day. All that energy churned up in the course of my day, I now want to say, is yours. I give it to you. I know that it is filled with sparks of your holy light. I want to use it to worship you. As I'm reassured of God's compassion, of the divine desire not to destroy but to embrace, I release whatever guilt or sense of inadequacy may have come along with me from my day. In asserting that God forgives before I begin to pray, I call myself to walk in his ways and to do the same. Our faith in a forgiving God calls upon us to forgive ourselves. Medav sich verginnen, as you say in Yiddish. You have to forgive yourself, but verginnen means more than forgive. It's not penitential. Verginnen means give yourself a chance. Let yourself live. Let yourself breathe. Let go of yourself. Don't hold on so tight. Vergin sich. Vergin sich to enjoy yourself. You allow yourself to do it. Vergin sich. So our faith in a forgiving God calls upon us to forgive ourselves. And that's the place from which to enter into Ma'ariv. Yes. The day has passed, all its energies, I bring them along. I raise them up, I offer them. They are my korban, they are my offering, they are my tamid shel ben ha'arbayim. Shnayim layom olah tamid. I say korbanot every morning in davening. I recite the 4 korbanot. Very few people do it anymore, but in my commentary I talk about it. First is Vasita kiyor nechoshet v'chalon nechoshet l'chfa. First is purification, and then is eish tamid to kadol mizbeach lo tichbeh. The fires that burn continually. That's idlavut. That's the ecstasy of davening. But then the regularity. Shnayim l'yom olah tamid. At the korban echad taseh b'boker, but the korban hasheni taseh ben arbayim. Kimintat b'boker mizkot taseh. You said the same thing in the evening and the morning, and then you have Parshat Ketoret, the aroma of tefillah that stays with you for the day. It has been a very important part of my davening, those 4 paragraphs of preparation. So at evening I sort of remember, this is my evening sacrifice. And the tefillah bimkom korban means a lot to me. Years and years ago, I heard a famous Yiddish etymologist, his name was Yudel Yoffe, give a lecture at YIVO on the etymology of the word davnen. Davnen is a word that does not come from the German or the Hebrew or the Slavic, and therefore it's one of the unusual words in Yiddish. Some people have tried to connect it to divinus, to the Latin, of course, divine, divinity. Some people have tried to connect it to English dawn, but he said, he traced, where does it first appear? It doesn't appear in medieval Yiddish. German Jews never say davnen, they say oren or to beten. They don't say davnen. Davnen is an East European Jewish word, not a German Jewish word. He said it appears first in documents published in Lithuania. And his explanation was that it's a translation, it turns out, of a Lithuanian word. The Lithuanian and Latvian Baltic languages are unique, very strange, almost unrelated to any other languages. Turns out in Lithuanian, there's a word that sounds something like daven, and it means gift. And he said this, you see, Jews daven shachris in shul or at home. Mara, they also daven back home. But mincha, they had to say in the market stall. And the Jew had to say to his non-Jewish customer, excuse me, I have to do mincha now. And he translated the word mincha, which is offering or gift, into this word daven, and that's how the word daven came about. Now, this is one lecture by a Yiddish philologist 50 years ago. I can't tell you that all Yiddish philologists accept it, but I liked it, so I kept it. So for me, davening means to offer a gift. So the gift I have, of course, va'ani tfilati lecha Hashem, I am my gratitude. All I have to offer you is myself. All I have to offer you is myself. And at night, this self comes with a lot of schmutz from the day. Right, with raised voices, with anger, with conflict, with inadequacy, with all the things I've been through in the course of a day. So they are part of my korban. If I give myself, I have to give myself as I am, and that means with my whole bekala. And so I bring it to you. I bring it before you, and that moment of urachum is the moment of its acceptance, of the acceptance of that offering, as I begin my life. Now I'm ready to step into this world of prayer, bringing this great evening gift, the gift of my own self as I've lived in the real world with me. This is the uniqueness of Minchat Erev. I won't read all of it, but I'll read the next comment on Asher b'dvaro ma'ari v'ravim. Then I'll move ahead, skip ahead a little bit. Asher b'dvaro ma'ari v'ravim ubayah's word makes evening happen. It's the parallel, I'll say it rather than read it, it's the parallel to Baruch She'amar. Every morning we say, Baruch She'amar v'haya ha'olam. God spoke the world into being, and at night we say, Asher b'dvaro ma'ari v'ravim. So we begin both services, Shachrit and Arvit, with a reference to language. Why? Because words are so inadequate to bring to God. Anybody can say words. They're such a cheap offering. It's not like, what a cow cost you in the old days when you brought a carpet to the temple. That was pretty serious. Words are easy to bring and easy to take back and easy to mean in one moment and not mean in the next moment. So we say, Rabbeinu Shalom, I know words are inadequate, but you seem to like words. You created the world with words. So, Baruch She'amar v'haya, I guess we can come to you with the words too. So we remind you, Baruch She'amar, yes, you spoke the world into being. Asher b'dvaro marivim, you use words, you use language to make evening happen every night. So we can come before you with words too. Hasidic reading for Shachrit, Baruch She'amar v'haya ha'olam. Reb Urla Mistrelis said, a Baruch you say it creates a world, that's a Baruch. Baruch She'amar v'haya ha'olam, Baruch. That's what a Baruch is. Baruch She'amar v'haya ha'olam, Baruch. That's it. So, the two brachot before the Shema. The two brachot before the Shema. One is always about creation and the natural world, and then one is about Israel and God's love for us and Torah. I think sometimes that in the time of Bayit Sheni, they had the same conflict we have between a very universalist Judaism and a very exclusive nationalist Judaism. And they were duking it out. My favorite example for it is a text we all know. I turn you to Psalm 145, which we know as Ashrei, but begins not with Ashrei, but with Tehillah David Arumim Michal Hayamelech. That alphabetical psalm we say 3 times a day in the traditional davening. There is not a single thing that is distinctively Jewish about it. There is no Yerushalayim, there is no Tzion, there is no Amcha Yisrael. It is entirely universal. And beginning around Tet, the author in every single verse, over and over again, says, this is for everybody. Tov Adonai lach kol v'rachamol v'kol masav, yoducha Adonai kol masav v'chasdech v'rucha. L'odir l'idei ha'adam gv'rodav, to all people. Malchutecha malchut kol olamim, somech Hashem l'chol hanoflim. Potech et yadecha mosber l'chol chai ratzon. I ask, he protesteth too much. Who's he talking to? Who's he trying to convince that this means everybody? Tehillat Adonai deber pi v'yivarech kol basar shem kodesh olam, but all flesh. Let's say, let's be narrow with David Seidenberg's forgiveness and say it's just human beings in this case. Where's David? Hi. It's just human beings in this case, but you can also say kol basar, so it's the whole community of flesh. Praises God's name. By the way, if you haven't read Reb David's book yet, do yourself a great favor. It's a great treasury of learning and thinking about not only about Kabbalah and ecology, but about what the humanist tradition of Judaism and the universalist tradition of Judaism is all about, and how it's challenged. So a big yeshayach to Reb David and a plug for his book. Who's he talking to? So I put next to that psalm, Tehillah David Arumimcha, I put Halel Hagadol, Hodu Hashem Kitov, Kilo Lam Chazdo, Hodu Elohim Kilo Lam Chazdo, and within 6 lines after he's gone from creation, he's gone right to Yitziat Mitzrayim, Motzi Amo B'Midbar Kilo Lam Chazdo, right? And then Natan Artzam Nachala Yisrael Avdo. He took the land from Og. He killed that bad guy Sichon. He gave us their land over and over and over again. That was sort of the nationalist side of Judaism in the Second Temple. Picture these 2 psalmists writing about the same time. And picture the guy who wrote Arumim Chalai Melech hearing the guy who wrote Hodu Hashem Kitov. Yay, we got him. That's our God. And I'm saying they were both there. They were both part of Judaism. They were struggling for the, not projecting, of course. I admit, I'm playing a little projection here, but it's not entirely unrealistic. Because remember, in the Second Temple times, we had Yirei Hashem, we had non-Jewish devotees coming to the temple. They were looking for that universal religion. They weren't looking for defeating Og Melech HaBashan. They were looking for that universal religion that we were teaching, and that later found its another version of its expression in what became Christianity. And ultimately we lost that universalist side. So when the rabbis edited the liturgy, both in Shachrit and Arvit, they put in one very universalist bracha and one very particularist. They began with Yotzer Oro V'rei Choshech and Mechadesh B'chol Yom Tamid Maaseh Bereshit, Asher B'dvaro Ma'ariv Harabim, Mesaderet HaKochavim, all of that grand universal vision. They wanted there before the Shema, and then they also wanted something very particular, something very much about Am Yisrael and our holiness and our role and our relationship to Torah, and the great evidence of God's love. Remember, God is lover as teacher. God is the loving teacher. Those of us who have tried to be loving teachers for many years know what that's about. That's most of you. God's love is evidenced by His giving us teachings. That's how God expresses God's love, through giving us teachings, and that's how we express a lot of our love too, by loving students and by giving them teachings and by passing on tradition, by handing things over. So that's very particularistic, but it also leads us to the Shema, because it leads us there in love. And here I want to read a little bit. I want to skip a little bit and go down to the Shema, sort of my kind of poetic introduction to the Shema, and then talk about it. The bottom of the first page, Shema Yisrael. Listen, Israel. The core of our worship is not a prayer at all, but a cry out to our fellow Jews and to fellow humans. In it we declare that God is one, which is to say also that humanity is one, that life is one, that joys and sufferings are one. For God is the force that binds them all together. There is nothing obvious about this truth, for life as we experience it seems infinitely fragmented. Human beings seem isolated from one another, divided by all the fears and hatreds that make up human history. Even within a single life, one moment feels cut off from the next. Memories of joy and fullness offering us little consolation when we're depressed or lonely. To assert that all is one in God is our supreme act of faith. No wonder the Shema is the first prayer we learn in childhood, is also the last thing we say before we're to die. The memory of those words in the lips of martyrs deepens our faith as we call them out each day. Listen, strugglers, we call out twice a day. No more idols. No more gods bound up in space and time. No more gods depicted and enframed. Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh runs away from such frames, the eternal free flow of being, ever beyond our grasp. Hashem Eloheinu Hashem Echad. Is, was, will be our only God. Is, was, will be one. Amen. Unknowable, secret, unspeakable word, hidden in our loving submission, are all too human calling out of Adonai, Master, Lord. Oh Havaya, let me make you human, let me fashion you in our image. Let me do to you what you ever seek to do to me. Let me remake you as my own. For this I will do anything, I'll even give my life. I stand before you and call you my Lord. Yes, as we struggle together, you and I, we reshape one another. Both of these together, the ever-elusive Havaya of the desert and the all-loving, all-knowing Adonai of my soul, these two reveal to be one and the same. Eilech Hamdali be these, and their union are my heart's desire. The Shema is not a prayer. Why? Because in the moment of Kriyat Shema, there's no one to pray to. Remember Zalman saying so many times, God is an atheist? This is the moment of God is an atheist. There is no one to say, you too. Because Shema Yisrael is Yichud HaIlah, the Zohar says, is the upper unity. In the upper unity, there is only one. Everything is one. There is no I, there is no thou, there is no sayer, there is no receiver of prayer, there's only one. So we can't address God and say Shema Yisrael. We can't address God because we are one with God. We are on the inside, not on the outside. So we can only say it to Yisrael, to everybody struggling, to everybody wrestling. We can say there is a place of oneness. There is a moment when we know that there is only one. And for that moment in the Shema Yisrael, we go there every day. We go there twice a day and say, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. There is only one. That was the beginning of the Creed, you remember. There is only one. Afterwards, we whisper, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchut Olam. We whisper it. We whisper it. Well, there's a midrash that explains why we whisper it, but the midrash is explaining something that existed long before the midrash. The midrash doesn't make much sense. Shema Yisrael, you remember where it came from? The midrash says, Jacob's son standing around his deathbed called out to him, "Don't worry, Papa, we remember the faith you taught us. Shema Yisrael, listen, Izzy." We're all saying it. Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. And Yaakov Avinu looked up and said, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchut Olam.
Nice.
That's the midrash. But when Moshe said Shema Yisrael in Sefer Dvarim, that's where the pasuk comes from. There's no Baruch Shem there. Therefore, because Yaakov said it, Moshe didn't say it. We whisper it. That's the midrash. But that's a fake midrash. That's because there was a practice of whispering and they didn't know why. That's a midrash that came to explain a phenomenon, a liturgical phenomenon that already existed. Because, what is Baruch Shem? That's what we called out, you remember. On Yom Kippur, all the people in the Azara, in the courtyard, when they heard the Kohen Gadol saying Hashem HaGadol, they all fell on their faces and said, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchut Olam. That's what you say after pronouncing a divine name. Because pronouncing a divine name might be more than you're allowed to, it might be sinful. And therefore we say a Baruch Shem to atone. That's why we say it at the end of Ana B'choach, because Ana B'choach is the 42-letter name of God. So after we say an Ana B'choach, we have to say a Baruch Shem to go with it. So that means maybe at some point people were still in the Shema using the Shem Havaya. Or maybe just for the Shema they said the Shem. Or in the 2nd or 3rd century. Or maybe saying the Shema was like saying the Shem, was tantamount to saying the Shem. So after the Shema you had to say a Baruch Shem Kavod. You had to respond because you've just pronounced or heard or Ki'ilu heard the great name of God. And so you whisper the Shema after it. And of course the great drama of Yom Kippur when you say it out loud, because you're up there with Malachei Hashares and you don't have to hide anything anymore and you proclaim it aloud. But that's secret. And so the Zohar calls it Yichuda Ilah, Yichuda Tata. The Shema itself is Yichuda Ilah, there is only one. Baruch Shem Kevod. All things exist, but really God is one inside them all. Don't say it out loud. You can't say it out loud because we have to pretend that I'm me and you're you. And there are borders between us and all those things. We have to pretend that existence is multiple and varied and we are separate selves. So we don't. We have to whisper, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchut. You know, it's really all one in here too. But we can't say it too loud. So the Shema, Jamie, go ahead. I wasn't going to take questions, but from you I'm not going to say no.
So why, after the second bracha for the tefillin, Baruch Shem Kivod?
Because the tefillin themselves are a Shem. You're putting a Shem onto you. Right? You have a Shaddai on the tefillin, and you're actually creating a Shem. And so that too is such a dramatic, powerful act that you have to have a Baruch Shem Kavod after it. Yeah, that's why. So you come to the Shema, you come to that moment of unity, but how do you get to that moment of unity? How do you get to that moment of unity? How do you go from the world of multiplicity in which we live, where I am me and you are you, and I am me and God is thou, and we say Baruch Atah, Baruch Atah, Baruch Atah over and over again. How do we jump, how do we make the leap from multiplicity to unity? We are given a great gift. God has given us a great gift, and that's the gift of love. And in love is the human act. Love is the human act in which we catch a glimpse of what it might mean to transcend duality and come into unity with another. And so only through love can we enter the Shema, and only through love can we come out of the Shema. That's the gateway in both directions. Where's Elliot? He calls it the love sandwich. Yeah. Hi. I remember you're afraid of the love sandwich, yes. So you come into the Shema with love. Now in my Shachrit, in my Sephardic Siddur, At the end of Ahava Rabbah, Ahavat Olam, it is during the week, at the end of Ahavat Olam, you say Le'ahava 4 times, Keroftanu, L'shivim Hagadol, Sela Bemet Be'ahava, L'odot Lecha Be'ahava, U'Le'ahava Et Shmecha, Baruch Ata Hashem, Habucher B'mo Yisrael B'ahava, you say Ahava 4 times. For me, that's 4 worlds. That's 4 worlds of love. So you go up, you're carried into those 4 levels of love, and from the 4th level of Yahrav, you then go into that moment of absolute unity of the Shema itself. And then you come out of the Shema carrying love with you. Now the Mefarshim have asked for a long time about the mitzvah v'yahavta. How can you command love? What does it mean? You shall love the Lord your God. Love is something spontaneous that has to well up in the heart. So I don't translate it, you shall love the Lord your God. I translate it, you will love Hashem your God. This is what's going to happen to you. You're going to be in that unit of place, and that unit of place is going to turn you on. It's going to open you up, and you're going to come out with a loving heart. And you're going to come out so excited about that. You're going to talk about it all the time. You're going to talk about it when you get up in the morning. You're going to talk about it at night. You're going to tell your kids all about it. You're going to scribble it on your walls. You're going to write it on your arm. You're going to put it between your eyes. Because you are so transformed by that event. I don't take those as commandments. I take those as descriptions of the reality of what it's like to come out of that unitive moment and come back into the world. All the things you're going to be doing, all the things you're going to want to do, that's going to happen to you. Because of Shema Yisrael, because of that insight of unity, because of that great moment. You're not going to be able to stop scribbling them on your walls. And so it becomes a mezuzah, but then, no, it was originally, you're going to scribble all over the wall. How much you're in love, and how much that moment of oneness has transformed your life. Yeah. Loud, please.
Okay, I wonder if I could do a little hip-hop on what you just said, because...
I don't think that's a question. Somehow I suspect that's not a question.
As I said, it's a hip-hop on top. So it'll be a hafta, always remind me of the book title, The Once and Future King. Because a hafta is past. And the hafta is always used as bava mapeach. It's like a sense of create. So what you're just saying, and you have love, and then you will love.
Yes.
As opposed
Good.
to you shall love.
Yes. You will. Yes, you will love. It's not just you shall, but it's you will. That's the point. That's the point. V'hayim shemoah. V'hayim shemoah. Well, I talked about it. I told some of you the story about V'hayim shemoah and its place in the Reconstructionist prayer book. I won't repeat the story because many of you heard it. But V'hayim shemoah is hard for some people because it sounds like oh, that punishing God. It sounds like that God of childhood. But I take it in an entirely different way. I take V'hayim shemoah yishmo mitzvotai. Yes, we can't go there with that punishing parental God anymore, that fellow who's looking out to see, did you do what I said or not? But we have something else. We are adults. We're outside the garden of childhood. We're outside the place where we can live with the God of childhood. But we are adults. We have something else. V'hayim shemoah yishmo mitzvotai le'ahavat Hashem Elokechem. It's not le'hov, but it's le'ahava. The biblical grammarian will tell you it's just an alternative form, but I rather like it to be in a state of love. Le'ahava. You are living in this state of love. Notice le'ahava et shmecha. I already quoted from the Sephardic ahava rabbah. Le'ahava Hashem Elokechem. You are in a state of love with God. When you're in a state of love with somebody, you accept an awful lot. The person I love may not be perfect, but I love him, I love her. And I'm living in the context of that relationship. And I see that person through the eyes of love. To see life, to see all of life through the eyes of a lover. Here I am engaged in life, and I love life. And I accept life as one who is committed to loving. And when you do that, when you can really, be in that state of love that allows you to serve with your whole heart and your whole soul, then the rewards are very great. You get wine and corn and oil and early rain and late rain and rich fields and fat flocks. You get all those good things, all those spiritual rewards described in such graphic terms. All that comes when you can open your heart and be in love with life. And be enough in love with life, not to be critical of picking apart, but to say, here I am, I serve with my whole self, my whole heart, and my whole soul. And I love you, life as you are, I accept you as you are. The rewards are very great. And you live with those rewards, and you're nourished by those rewards, and you take them in. But they don't last forever. The Baal Shem Tov says, Ta'anuk t'midiyeh, no ta'anuk. It doesn't go on forever, that pleasure. It can't. So at some moment your heart will turn aside, you'll slip, you won't even notice. And all of a sudden, what will happen? Vatzarat hashamayim lo yeh matar, the heavens will close up, and there'll be no rain, and you'll be absolutely devastated. Everybody goes through that in the life of faith. That's what the life of faith is about. Going back and forth in those rich moments of it's so rewarding, it's so wonderful to love God. And oh my God, I don't feel a thing. I feel empty. I feel abandoned. I was kidding myself. You are lost. You get to those moments of being lost from that good land which God gave you. That's part of the rhythm of the life of faith. But for those moments, we have a gift. That's what you need ritual for. Ritual is a gift to carry you through those moments. You may feel empty, you may feel lost, but the forms will bring you back. Doing the forms, even when it's hard, even when it doesn't feel meaningful this particular morning, to put those tefillin on, or to say this mincha this afternoon, even when it doesn't feel, don't feel inspired. It's the regularity of the forms. It's the regularity of the forms that carries you through. So that's the great gift we're given. The great gift we're given of having forms that bring us back and that keep us going, even in those times of emptiness and loss. Let me read it, the bottom paragraph on the third page. This paragraph of the Hayim Shema describes a journey, one that can last through the entire course of an entire human life. Yes, let yourself dare to love. Be in that state of loving Hashem, of loving all that is. Be ready to serve with all your heart and your soul. You'll love doing it. You'll fill up on the rewards of all that love, inner versions of wine and corn and oil. But watch out. Those things don't last forever. Constant joy is no joy at all, as the Baal Shem Tov taught. One day when your heart just isn't paying attention, the heavens will shut up and there will be no rain, not because you did something evil, not because you're a terrible person, but just you weren't paying attention for a moment and you turned around and whoops, it's all gone. How quickly you will feel you've lost your moorings upon the land. All of a sudden you will feel that faith has abandoned you, that all is lost, that there is nothing left. Yes, those moments happen in the life of every religious person. What is the life raft you hold on to at such a moment? Place these words upon your heart, tie them around your arm, put them between your eyes. Then you'll be more than thankful that you have the words wrapped around your hand and head written upon your doorposts. Those simple and down-to-earth things will bring you back to life, carrying you over to the place where you and your offspring will indeed enjoy those, and I put it in quotes because it's Zalman's wonderful translation, will indeed enjoy those heavenly days right here on earth. Yimei Hashamayim ala haaretz, heavenly days right here on earth, was one of Zalman's genius moments of translation. Just a little comment for you, for the educators among you. In the first paragraph of the Shema, it says, "V'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam." Right? V'shinanta. What does v'shinanta mean? With the shinayim, saying them in this over and over way, but saying them somewhat harshly. Vishinantam, but also to repeat them over and over again, like Mishnah, like a Shana repeats the cycle. Like Mishnah is something you repeat it orally until you memorize it. So Vishinantam is sort of rote learning, rote memorization. Vishinantam, you'll push them into your kids over their teeth, over their clenched teeth. But in Vayim Shemoah, and Vidibartabam, and you talk about them. But in Vayim Shemoah it says, V'limadatem otam et b'neichem lidaber bam. Now you've learned something as an educator. You're not vishinantaming anymore. You're v'limadatem. You're engaging in real teaching. Remember that in traditional Yiddish there's no word for to teach. Lernen. Lernen means both to learn and to teach. Und der Rebbe lernt kleine Kinder. In modern Yiddish there's lernen, but that's taken from the German in the 20th century. In traditional Yiddish, lernen means to learn and to teach. Lernen mit Emerson means to teach them, to learn with it. To learn with is to teach. That's the sense of limadatem otam et b'neichem. When you learn them with your children, then lidaber bam. Then they become empowered to talk about them. Then it's not just ata v'dibarta bam, but it's v'limadatem otam et b'neichem lidaber bam. You will teach them to talk about them because you will have engaged in this educational process, which is not just putting it down their teeth, but is really to be engaged in learning. Maybe just one more because it's too much to digest and I don't like to overwhelm. But the very last one we'll do, and then I'll call it a night or ask for some comments and questions if you like. The last one is from Hashkivenu. V'aseb Satan milfanenu me'acharenu. Remove Satan from before us and from behind us. Yes, the force that leads us away from Hashem is present in both directions. It can push us to love too much or to withhold too much of our love. To fear too much or to be unwisely bold and fear too little. To be too proud or too self-deprecating, and all the rest. Satan can be both lefanenu and acharenu. Have to watch, always watch in both directions. Sometimes loving too much can be Satan, sometimes loving too little can be Satan. Sometimes letting ourselves go can be Satan, sometimes holding back can be Satan. Understand that we want to be on guard, both before us and behind us. Steadiness in our path requires constant watchfulness. It's a good thing that Hashem is Shomer Amo Yisrael La'ad, forever guarding his people, those who wrestle with angels and with demons. So that's a little bit of my be'er. There are, because I'm a regular chakras davener, much of it is on the weekday chakras, but I have some on Shabbat and some on Hallel, and here and there a few things for Yamim Noraim. Someday it will have to be published with a Siddur. The question is, which Siddur?
What about as a companion to a Siddur?
Well, no, I think it should be on the page with a Siddur. I think it will be more used if it's on the same page with a Siddur. And so then the question is, will it be an abbreviated Siddur, my kind of Siddur, reflecting what my actual davening is? Will it be a completely traditional Siddur? Can I publish it in the Siddur with things that offend me? On the other hand, knowing who knows the Siddur well, a lot of the people who will benefit most from it will be orthodox enough that they probably wouldn't open the Siddur if it wasn't a completely traditional Siddur. And so one of my Talmidim says, publish it in English in your kind of Siddur, and publish it anonymously in Hebrew in an old-fashioned Muslim side Siddur, and let somebody think it's a text from long ago. So that's a little bit intriguing. Sefer Pe'er L'Chayro, who knows who wrote it? Who knows who wrote whatever Perushah in the Siddur? So I think about that. I told a number of you that I just finished writing a Hebrew translation and adaptation of my book, Radical Judaism. In Radical Judaism in Hebrew, I have at the end of chapter 3 about a 20-page excursus on prayer, on the question of prayer. How can a Jew like me pray? And that will probably also be the introduction to this commentary on the Siddur. So it's, as I say, it's an ongoing work in progress. If I have a good day in davening, I sit down after davening and put something else onto the word processor, and the file grows a little bit. And I'm looking for ways to share it. This was one of the very first times I've shared it in this public setting, in this big group. So I hope you've enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you.